Hi everyone, so let's look at the new developments that have come up in the presidential race. Currently there's 5 candidates out and there's 21 candidates left. The ones that are well known would be Inslee and Hickenlooper, who had decent support, a lot more than some of the ones that are still left over, so you still wonder, there's still 21 candidates and a good quarter of them actually don't have enough support to even match Inslee or Hickenlooper. So I imagine they're taking a serious look at their whole campaign. They haven't made the third debate, and if they're not likely to make the fourth debate, then I imagine there's some serious consideration that they should start dropping out. There's 10 people that made the next debate, Yang being one of them, having 6 qualifying polls, so he did really well. It wasn't even by like a borderline 4 polls. He got 6, so he made it easy. The ones that did agonizingly miss out was Stiers with 1 poll missing. Gabbard, she only had 2 polls, so she had 2 missing. And Williamson, she had 3 polls missing. I imagine Stiers will probably make the fourth debate. Gabbard possible. Williamson possible. Um, so how does the next debate gonna how's the next debate gonna look? So if 10 people, it's still up for debate what happens. It could be 10 people on one stage on one night, which I wouldn't advise because you have so many big candidates, and the speaking time's just gonna be obliterated. Like no one's really gonna get much speaking time, and there's just going to be a lot of people interrupting each other because those are all big candidates. They're all going to be tripping over themselves to answer each other or just trying to attack each other. I'd say these are the debates that actually start mattering more. I'd go with 5 people on one night, 5 people on the next night, and that's going to be much more suitable. And also, there's a lot more incentive for the TV station to do 5 candidates, 5 candidates. A lot more airtime, more advertising time. So why wouldn't you do it? I can only see that unless the DNC comes in and says we want only one night with 10 people, which would end up being like a catastrophe. So I wouldn't see why you would want that. Um, so I imagine if you do have 5 people for each night, Andrew Yang will really shine. Each debate, he's just noticeably gotten even stronger, and he's also one of the candidates that are rising the fastest. Even though he's not rising like in terms like if we look in terms of percentages and we say, oh, maybe he's like the at the end of the day, like percentages wise, he's still very far behind the top candidates. But in terms of rankings, he's moving quick. He used to be at 8th, now he's at 6th. The people he's climbed over is Brooker and O'Rourke, who are actually looking like they're losing support while Andrew Yang's gaining support. And the next target will be Buttigieg, which Andrew Yang would have to probably start doubling the amount of support he's getting right now to surpass Buttigieg. But I think it's very possible, and also he could possibly pass Harris the minute he passes Buttigieg. But in terms of progress, Andrew Yang is one of the only candidates that have actually moved up in terms of the rankings. Like Biden has kind of basically held the lead for a very long time. Continues to hold the lead on most polls. Then it's Sanders in second, Warren in third, Harris in fourth, Buttigieg in fifth, and Yang in sixth. And then you've got Brooker in seventh, which he slipped one, and then O'Rourke has slipped as well. I think he slipped about 2 places because O'Rourke was actually in front of Booker and Yang, whereas Gabbard has stayed where she is in ninth and Castro in 10th. So most people have actually stayed in their rankings, and the only candidate really moving up the ranks, like, if you're moving from 8th to 6th, you're doing really well to move up 2 rankings in this really competitive race. It's quite possible that the support that went to the 5 candidates that dropped out, a decent amount has actually gone to Yang. which we kind of saw coming because they're looking for a new candidate, someone that stands out, someone with new ideas, and he's looking like the candidate that a lot of people would start supporting once their candidate isn't there anymore. So when you have the lineup dropping from say like 21 to 15, I imagine Yang's going to get even more support, and then that's when he's going to be able to challenge for fifth and fourth spot, which would be quite interesting. So definitely let me know what your thoughts are. Like if you look at the polls, the only like each different poll has different methods, and we can argue how well they actually prove in terms of accuracy. But one thing that's proving true is if they are continuing the same methods, the one thing that is changing is the numbers are actually moving upwards, even though they're low numbers, but they're moving upwards, and it's definitely in support of Yang that he's definitely rising through the rankings, and he's doing really well. And also he's raising a ton of money. Um, First quarter he raised I think it was around about 1.7 million, and in the last quarter he raised about 2.8 million, and this quarter he's looking like he might raise about, let's see, about 4 million. If no, no, actually close to 5 million. He's still missing about 635,000 to get to 5 million. So in terms of what Andrew Yang has raised last quarter, 2.8, to get to 4.3 million right now, he's actually done really well in terms of raising, nearly doubling what he's raised previously. And that money is just going to increase with the amount of support. And also, yeah, like I think he's getting more exposure. So getting more exposure also correlates with getting more donations. And even if we consider the amount of donations Andrew Yang has gotten versus what Booker has gotten, O'Rourke and Buttigieg, Andrew Yang is using every dollar so well. And he's also using his time really well, because Andrew Yang, there's no candidate that's going on more interviews than Andrew Yang. He is literally gone to every media agency and done every debate, not every debate, every interview. And then he's going on to YouTube channels, which I deeply admire, because I never thought a presidential candidate would actually go on YouTube and start going on interviews of like channels on there. So I think he's doing really well in terms of getting exposure and giving his time to the people. So he's made his message and his campaign about humanity. And one thing he's really doing is he's actually coming and paying attention to everyone around him, and he's not abusing it. He's not saying, I've got the support and these people are going to keep going for me. He's going, I've got the support and I really appreciate it, and I'm going to give my time everywhere. So kudos to him that he hasn't just stuck with all the large agencies. He's also gone to the YouTube channels, which I think is, I deeply admire that, because he's not just going, I'm just going to go on news channels because that's where I get the largest exposure. So with some YouTube channels, I think it was like Raving Ryan, where he might not have a lot of views or subscribers, but Andrew Yang came on for a 17-year-old kid, and I thought that was absolutely amazing. And recently he was on Nerds for Yang, which was also quite brilliant. I think those kind of platforms is where Yang actually really gets to express his true message. Whereas if he goes on media channels, a lot of them actually have their own agenda, and they have certain questions that try to scrutinize him, and they try to portray things in a different light. So each platform is good it has its pros and cons, of course, but the fact that no other candidate has done what Andrew Yang has done, he's showing something that is quite different. He's unconventional in a very good way. So let me know what you think about how Andrew Yang is performing, and what you think about him coming and doing all the YouTube interviews as well. Until next time, I'll see you guys later.